Mangekyou Sharingan is one of the strongest eyes in Naruto history. These eyes are possessed by the most fan-favorite Uchiha clan, so today we're going to rank all Mangekyou Sharingan users.
Turn me up. What?
Rai is one of the Uchiha that we see in Hitachi's memories. He has a Mangekyou Sharingan, but he was not too good at using his Sharingan abilities, and he wasn't that talented too. But he was able to use Izanami in the fight, so I rank him on Sannin level.
Naruto, the next Hokage.
With his Mangekyou Sharingan, Shin can teleport objects and individuals across space-time, similar to Kakashi's Kamui. Shin can also manipulate objects around him to create weapons, as we see in his fight against Sakura. He was even able to fight against Naruto and Sasuke at the same time, so I give him this power level. Fugaku is the most mysterious character in the Naruto verse. We never get to see him using Mangekyou Sharingan abilities, or never see his Susanoo. All we know is that he controlled Kuruma with his Mangekyou, and Hitachi was afraid to face him in Uchiha Massacre. We never get to see his Mangekyou abilities, so I can't rank him higher than this. Danzo is the most hated character in Naruto, but he was good at using the Mangekyou Sharingan, which he stole from Shisui Uchiha. He was able to cast Genjutsu and can use Koto Amatsukami after 10 days thanks to the Hashirama cells in his body. Danzo is one of the strongest characters in the Hidden Leaf. Izuna was the younger brother of Madra. He was the second strongest Uchiha of his time. He showed proficient skill in fire release, able to perform his clan's signature Great Fireball technique with enough power to dispense a water dragon bullet technique used by Tobirama Senju. Izuna possessed overflowing talent in Kenjutsu, wielding a sword when seen in battle. But he was defeated by Tobirama's first flying Raijin technique. So I place him lower on the list. Sasuke in Kage Summit was very powerful. He was able to use his humanoid Susanoo and even fight against multiple Kages at once. He fights against 3 Kages, then fights Danzo and kills him, and then even fights against Kakashi and Naruto as half-blind. Kage Summit Sasuke was one of the coolest versions of Sasuke. Shisui is the most talented Uchiha. He was an extremely capable user of the Sharingan, and during the Third Great Ninja War, his eyes evolved into the Mangekyou Sharingan. Using Koto Amatsukami, he could cast a powerful Genjutsu on others and manipulate them without them even realizing it. He also manifests the humanoid Susanoo, which he used against the Anbu group. He was a shinobi only few could defeat in the entire Naruto world. Kakashi awakened his Mangekyou Sharingan at the death of Rin. He masters his Mangekyou, and in the war he was able to fight against multiple tailed beasts at once, and able to use Kamui multiple times, and didn't have any chakra issues, which he has in his previous versions. And he even fought against Miss Rinnegan Obito in Kamui Dimension, so that's why I ranked him higher on the list. Hitachi has the strong Mangekyou Sharingan abilities in entire Naruto. He has Amaterasu, one of the strongest one-shot abilities. He also possesses Tsukiyomi, which has the powerful Genjutsu that can manipulate space and time. He also possibly had one of the strongest armored Susanoo in the entire series. In his hands it had Yata Mirror and Tatsuka Blade, which are one of the strongest weapons in Naruto. Obito also had one of the strongest Mangekyou Sharingan in the series. After the death of Rin, Obito awakened his Mangekyou Sharingan, and just as 12-year-old kid, Obito used his Mangekyou like a professional. He also had one of the strongest Mangekyou abilities, Kamui, which he can use as an advantage against any character he fights. Also, he has a huge collection of Sharingans after the Uchiha Massacre, and can use Izanagi multiple times. Obito is easily one of the strongest characters in Naruto. With his left Mangekyou, Sasuke can cast Amaterasu. He can also use Armored Susanoo with his EMS. The straight Tomo of his Mangekyou Sharingan grants him fluidity in his movements when fighting. In the Fourth Great Ninja War, he used his Susanoo and fused it with Jugo's Sage Power and fight against Jubito, alongside Naruto, and even gave him a hard time. He was also able to fight against Madra, and even able to injure his arm with his sword. Edo Itachi has no stamina and Mangekyou Sharingan issues anymore. He sealed Nagato, a strong Rinnegan user, with his Susanoo and even fight against Kabuto, and then defeated him with Izanami and undone the Edo Tensai technique. He also was smarter than Sasuke, which we see in his fight against Kabuto. Edo Itachi was one of the badass versions of Itachi. Madra was the first Uchiha to obtain the Mangekyou Sharingan. After years of training, he gained enormous power which he used against Hashirama Senju. Due to Hashirama's astronomical strength, Madra sought more power, and after his brother's death, he took his eyes to gain the eternal Mangekyou Sharingan. Using its abilities, Madra gained the ability to perfect Susanoo, a casual slash from which was enough to split mountain ranges apart. Interestingly, Madra's Mangekyou Sharingan abilities were never revealed to us, despite him being the first one to awaken it. He is the strongest Uchiha in history. In the Fourth Great War, Obito used his Rinnegan to summon Gedo Mazo in the fight, and used his Mangekyou Sharingan to use Kamui against Naruto, Kakashi, Guy, and Kurama. He was strong enough to control all tailed beasts with his Rinnegan, and even summoned and controlled 10-tailed beasts with it. In his final battle against Hashirama, Madra uses his Susanoo around mind control, Kurama, and even gives the legendary Hashirama a hard fight. But Hashirama used his Sage Mode and Shinsu Senju and defeated him with 1,000 punches. Indra was the first son of Hagoromo and one of the broken characters. He awakened his Mangekyou Sharingan after killing his two friends and being able to use Amaterasu. He was able to kill his perfect Susanoo without even the eternal Mangekyou Sharingan. It is a huge feat itself. He was strong enough to match Ashura in a 1-versus-1 fight, a man who gained 6 paths chakra from his father. Indra had one of the strongest and most durable characters in the Naruto series. Jubito was the strongest version of Obito. He can easily use truth-seeking orbs in his fight against the entire world. He was not able to use his Kamui. If he would be able to, then I am confirmed he can easily be able to fight stronger characters than him in a 1-versus-1 fight. After the death of Obito Uchiha, he gave his chakra to Kakashi, which awakened both Kamuis in his eyes. With both Mangekyou eyes, Kakashi was able to unlock his perfect Susanoo and fight against Kaguya. He used Kamui Shuriken and even cut Kaguya's arm with his Kamui Raikiri. DMS Kakashi was one of the broken characters in Shippuden. EMS Rinnegan Sasuke was able to give Jubidara a hard time in his fight. He used Amanote Chikara against him, and even used his perfect Susanoo. He was also capable of resisting through the infinite Tsukuyomi. He is one of the strongest Rinnegan users in Naruto. Hagoromo is the sage of 6 paths. He awakened his Sharingan after the death of his love, Haori. Then he awakened both his Rinnegan and Mangekyou Sharingan in his fight against Hamura. He used his perfect Susanoo in his fight against Ten Tails, and he had one of the biggest Susanoo in the entire Naruto anime. He even sealed his mother, and he still gives his chakra to Naruto and Sasuke after thousands of years after his death. He has the strongest Mangekyou in Naruto history. And that's it for today's video. I hope you enjoy it. Give us a like and subscribe for more Naruto power level videos. Also, tell me which video I make next, and I will see you soon in my next video. So watch these videos for now, and goodbye.